The firestorm over President Trump's press conference is growing. More protests erupting at Trump Tower overnight.
And Robin, the comments sparking so much backlash. President Trump saying both sides of the protesters at that Charlottesville rally were to blame for the conflict.
So the president's defenders will say that he denounced the white supremacists and the racists. And that's absolutely true. But he also, and in fact, seemed more exercised about fighting to the ground this point that there were some on the left who contributed to the violence.
Tonight, a defining moment in Donald Trump's presidency.
You look at both sides. I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either.
Here we have President Trump revealing that actually what he said to begin with was what he meant, that both sides were to blame.
Folks, what I just saw gave me the wrong kind of chills. Honestly, I'm a bit shaken from what I just heard and suspect it's not just me. Moments ago at Trump Tower, the President of the United States painted white nationalists and members of the alt-right as victims of what he described as club-wielding members of the alt-left.
I didn't wait long. I wanted to make sure, unlike most politicians, that what I said was correct, not make a quick statement. The statement I made on Saturday, the first statement, was a fine statement, but you don't make statements that direct unless you know the fact. It takes a little while to get the facts. You still don't know the facts. And it's a very, very important process to me, and it's a very important statement. So I don't want to go quickly and just make a statement for the sake of making a political statement. I want to know the facts.
I don't know, not having been there and not seeing all the facts, what role race played in that, but I think it's fair to say, number one, any of us would be pretty angry. Number two, that the Cambridge police acted stupidly.
What about the alt-left that came charging at the, as you say, the alt-right? Do they have any semblance of guilt?
This is let
me ask you this. What about the fact they came charging with clubs in their hands, swinging clubs? Do they have any problem? I think they do. So, as far as I'm concerned, that was a horrible, horrible day. Wait a minute. I'm not finished. Fake news. That was a horrible day. I will tell you something. I watched those very closely, much more closely than you people watched it. And you have, you had a group on one side that was bad, and you had a group on the other side that was also very violent. And nobody wants to say that, but I'll say it right now.
By the way, as I said, Bernie Sanders has put out a statement here on today's attack, and that the attacker was apparently a Sanders disciple and a big advocate for him. And this is, again, coming from Senator Sanders. I've just been informed that the alleged shooter at the Republican baseball practice is someone who apparently volunteered on my presidential campaign.
You had a group on the other side that came charging in without a permit, and they were very, very violent. Go ahead.
Do you think that what you call the alt-left is the same as neo-Nazis?
All of those people, excuse me, I've condemned neo-Nazis. I've condemned many different groups, but not all of those people were neo-Nazis, believe me. Not all of those people were white supremacists by any stretch.
Mr. President, are you putting what you're calling the alt-left and white supremacists on the same moral plane?
I'm not putting anybody on a moral plane. What I'm saying is this. You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other, and they came at each other with clubs, and it was vicious, and it was horrible, and it was a horrible thing to watch. But there is another side. There was a group on this side, you can call them the left, you've just called them the left, that came violently attacking the other group. So you can say what you want, but that's the way it is.
The accused killer was not a Trump voter. He actually backed Jill Stein and Bernie Sanders in the 2016 race, and indeed called for violent attacks on Trump supporters during the election. A video from the day before the stabbing shows him denouncing not just Muslims, but also Jews and Christians. In a Facebook posting from last June, he attacked Hillary Clinton for allegedly keeping Honduran refugees out of this country, hardly the behavior of a coherent white supremacist. At the alt-right rally he supposedly attended in April, he was apparently there to pick fights with everyone, whether they loved Trump or hated him. Once you dig a little, you find that this guy wasn't a right-winger, but an unstable maniac who hated almost everybody and maybe inevitably was going to lash out at some point. But don't tell that to the media, though.
It's on both sides, sir. You said there was hatred, there was violence on both sides.
Well, I do think there's blame. Yes, I think there's blame on both sides. You look at both sides. I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either. And if you reported it accurately, you would say.
Kill the person. Heather hired
Charlottesville. They showed up in Charlottesville to protest.
Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as neo, and you had some very bad people in that group. Now, in the other group also, you had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers, and you see them come with the black outfits and with the helmets and with the baseball bats. You had a lot of bad people in the other group. So I only tell you this: there are two sides to a story.
Trump again blames both sides in Charlottesville. How dare he? Well, both sides are to blame. It's common sense. There is violence on the left. There is abundant violence on the left. How many times do I have to keep reminding people? Ferguson, Missouri, that was a bunch of leftist protesters. Baltimore, Maryland, a bunch of leftist protesters. At the University of California, Berkeley, anytime a conservative shows up to speak, what the hell happens? And why do the cops stand down every time, or almost every time? The idea that there's no violence on the left?
Honor to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere the 45th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.